The next 6 months, especially before the year ends, it's a very crucial one for all of us. It's crucial because for everything you have lost, you have to regain. There must be some form of retribution. And of course, for those of us who have also not started, it is not just starting at the end, at the beginning of the year. We were told yesterday by our guests, starting now is as crucial as starting, at the beginning of every year. But of course, there are some principles, general principles, specific principles that we need to continue to look at. One that will reshape whatever strategies we want to employ if we want to start this particular one, of course. And that's what we're going to be dealing with in the month of June. You are going to be having to listen to a lot of these conversations, one that will help you to reshape the agenda, reshape your strategies, and to refocus, redirect, even as we get into the next 6 months. A big thanks for joining us. Welcome to that particular conversation. Madame Juliet A. Armour is the country director, Emerging Public Leaders of Ghana. She's going to be helping us understand the phenomenon of discipline and devotion, morning routines that work. People say, I am not a morning person like that. And so for a lot of us, we are very indisciplined with morning because we use that as an alibi, as an excuse. I am not a morning person. And so my day starts around 11. So from the time you wake up, 4, 3, when people are awake till 11, a lot of things have happened, we are told. And so she's going to be helping us understand some of these things, help us also to get some of the things that we need to redo and relearn. Thank you very much, Mrs. Armour, for your time. We're grateful.
Thank you very much, Coco. Nice to be back in the studio.
Absolutely.
Well, awesome.
Right. I want to start off on this particular one. Why is it a very crucial time to want to start your routines when any time at all, especially if I was working very late into the morning, I could still sleep and my day could still start at 11. Why is the morning a very critical and crucial time to begin routines? Is it tied in with any spiritual connotation or anything mysterious about it?
Well, Coco, there isn't anything mysterious about starting in the morning. I think the human body and scientifically, where we go off to bed and the body rejuvenates itself, the cells have time during that, that nighttime period. It's a cycle. So whether or not you interrupt that cycle and sleep later than you should or earlier than you should, your body still sticks to its pre-programmed cycle.
Okay.
And that's where you're rejuvenate and all the rest of it. And so when you wake up in the morning, at that time, your body is at its most alert for most people. But then there are obviously symptoms.
That being said, what it means is that it seems to me as though it will become more systemic in terms of how we run our lives, and so there is something you have to do in the morning to prepare your mind for the day and all of that. What could be your ideal in about some 5 minutes, or if you like less, maybe let's do 3 minutes. What's your ideal morning looking like, where you know that in more generic terms, once you are able to go through the rudiments of the morning or the tenets of waking up early and how crucial it is, you walk through it, you are going to have a very productive day, no matter who you are and where you work?
Well, thank you. Most of us work 9-to-5 jobs. There's lots of other people who don't, who are entrepreneurs and have their own time, as you said earlier on. And so we will all have different rhythms. But if you were asking about what would be an ideal rhythm to have, it's certainly not picking your phone up first thing you wake up would be the first thing that we have to discipline ourselves to doing. Over the last kind of 10 years, you see that mobile phones have become more and more what people even put their alarms on. And so they wake up to the mobile phone and they grab it first thing in the morning. An ideal morning would be to wake up slowly. There's no reason why you should, jolt your senses up in the morning and open your eyes. Most people open their eyes with a start, but there should be no reason. Once you're waking up, you should be able to lie there for a little bit, if it's 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 3 minutes, and wake yourself up slowly. Come back into consciousness slowly. In those 3, 4 minutes, you should be starting to meditate. If your line is Christian, then you should start to meditate on what God tells you in the Bible, in the good book. If you're any other religion, you should be telling yourself whatever positive things that you have in those books. So in those first few minutes, you're trying to realign yourself back to the land of the living, if you like. At that same time is where you now start to visualize what your day is going to be. So you're starting to think, what are the things that I need to accomplish today? Whether at work, whether these are things for others or for yourself. So you now start to think about that whilst you're trying to wake yourself up. So those are the first few minutes of starting to wake up. So immediately you will see that you've started to center your brain and center your energies around what the tasks are for the day before you even now wake up, and then start consciously to go through your daily routine. For some people, it's going to be prayers or meditation with others or by themselves. For some other people, it's going to be music, because music is uplifting. And so that's the point at which you put on some music. Again, I would say that don't reach for the phone. If your music is on the phone, it's not a great idea. You should be playing music or listening to music on a device that's other than the phone, even if it's an iPad. For some other people, it's listening to words of affirmation. And so your iPad would have YouTube channels which have words of affirmation, or words of affirmation that you yourself have learned, which you can repeat to yourself as you start to gather your thoughts for the day. And so that would be a step 2, for example. A step 3 would be on and this is a delicate balance between going back into your day yesterday and looking at what you achieved, what the bottlenecks were, and how you're going to overcome that today and what you're going to do differently today.
Right.
Now, some people get stuck at that point where they're thinking, I did so many wrong things yesterday, I can't go forward today. So as I said, it's a delicate balance that you need to keep. But definitely you have to look back on yesterday to be able to plan your day perfectly for today and be able to achieve the things that you need to achieve.
I see. Interesting. Sounds, again, for the people we are dealing with and talking to as our guests, including you, not only do you look very organized, you sound very organized. What it means is that it could be something that is playing obviously from your personality or through a lot of training and practice. I'm sure one of these will find expression in how you talk and behave and do your things as well. But someone who probably has personality types that will not allow the person to operate in this habits, how do they build these habits over a period of time, especially when their personality is conflicting with such ideas, and also people who probably have it and their motivation is low? How do they regain some of these things? So building of these habits, how do they do that? I'm not sure there's a magic wand that can help us. You can help us, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think the thanks, Coco. I think that yes, these things are things that you build over time. These are habits that you build over time, and some people may be more organized than others. Yeah, but what I can say is we all have a rhythm. And the idea or the trick is to find what your rhythm is. Now, if you're someone who works for yourself and you're used to going to bed late, you can get up when you want and the rest of it. Of course, your rhythm and the things that interest you are going to be different from someone who's more corporate, if you like. And so for me, the thing to do would be to find activities that get you into a mind space that you can handle. So, for example, I've had people who I mentored who say they're not morning persons, and I put them to work doing puzzles in the morning or even playing solitaire in the morning. So you wake up to a fun activity or something that keeps your brain alert. So, in trying to solve a puzzle, whether it's a newspaper puzzle, which unfortunately the newspapers don't give us these days, but you can still find those kind of puzzles online on your computer or somewhere else, you will start to see patterns fall in place. And as you're putting those patterns in place, you then start again the discipline of thinking about your life and your goals and what you need to do. For some people, the idea of waking up to puzzles is also still daunting. I am not a morning person, so why am I even doing puzzles in the morning? In that case, then you need to find, again, I go back to the issue of music. If you look at most of history, music has had a very interesting place. The lyrics of music, the melody of it always puts anyone, just about anyone, you will find music that speaks to you. So in that case, you need to find music that speaks to you and allows you within that time frame to start to put your thoughts together. I think for most people also, procrastination is one of those things that steals their their time. It's, I want a particular job or that particular item. They don't want to. So again, it's mind over matter. And so I tell people who are procrastinators that you have to think of your worst case scenario. What will happen if I do not do this particular piece of work? Or if I do not get out of bed at this exact moment, what will happen? It may be an angry client. It may be a lost client. It may be an angry manager. Do you want to be spoken to rudely? So you have to imagine your worst case scenario. Probably you don't like being spoken to rudely or harshly. So that alone should be, enough to get you out of bed at a particular time and to get you to start thinking about what am I going to achieve for today and how am I going to achieve it. The last thing I want to touch on, Coco, is overthinking. There's lots of people who overthink the whole idea of being even. So they're thinking, what crap did I do wrong yesterday? What am I going to do today that's going to make a difference? Maybe I should have. Maybe I could have. Maybe if only I had done this. And so they box themselves in with fear. That alone also hinders you wanting to get out of bed in the morning and be productive. So all of these things, the procrastinators, the overthinkers, the overanalyzers, there's all of those sorts of people who then say, I am not a morning person. Because to be honest, they just do not have the energy to face the day because they've put themselves into these boxes. And so it does require discipline. and tricks, to play tricks on your own self. Like I said, thinking about your worst case scenario, thinking about the most positive outcome that you can have, and then motivating yourself, maybe even with an accountability partner who will wake you up gently, maybe even with words of affirmation or music that you like, to be able to then build that discipline and that capacity to go on.
Interesting. The quite a number of things we're going to be dealing with. You touched on them briefly. We'll go into them a bit more. The digital discipline, the planning and purpose for the day, even physical movement and health, and also faith. You also touched on some of those things, but let's talk about the upbringing. I want us to open the conversation to that point where how can, because I know a lot of people who do those things, have these habits because their family taught them. A lot of families don't have that anymore. There are different time zones for different things. And so the mother wakes up very early. The father probably might have been awake and left the house early. The mother had to wake up later to take care of the house before waking up the children. And so some of these habits, including devotion and all of that, are lost within that. I agree that we have to build these habits, but is there a role that these things play, and how crucial are they? And what would you want to advise people who have these timelines to do, especially when they don't even want to wake up the children that early, to be engaged in devotion and some of these habitual, if you like, activities?
Well, I mean, modern living indeed has so many difficulties for many families. The traffic, the trying to get to places on time as a family, especially when you share transport and that sort of thing. So yes, there's lots of different challenges for families. And so perhaps families are not they're not following the paths that previous families followed, where you'd have a morning devotion and you would build a culture, a certain culture together at home. So you're right about that. But I still think that there's space and there's space and opportunity for those who really do want to get into these habits.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is never too late. So even if your family didn't build that into you, it's never too late to build it into yourself. And so for me, the main thing would be to go even online this is not the first thing in the morning, because I still think that people should not be reaching out for their phones first thing in the morning. However, I think that there are lots of resources that you can get to, which will help you think through how to start a day or how to build those habits. There's people who've done it in the past, and so we can learn from them. So for me, there's no one straight jacket approach to building those habits, becoming more disciplined. Everyone has to have their own rhythm, their own way of looking at life and building those. But I can say that spirituality would be one of those things that you have to look at. What makes you tick? If you're a traditional person, I'm sure you've got your rituals. If you're Christian, I'm sure, and this is a Christian station, so I'm sure most of your listeners will be Christian listeners. Yeah. So in Christianity, we do have scripture, we do have anchors, things that are prescribed in the Bible. There are things that we can reach out to, speak to God about, and that already starts to center us. The word says that we should not lean on our own understanding, and so that's a place to start from. What is your own understanding? Your own understanding will be the family that you've come from. It will be the habits that they formed, the procrastination, all of those things. But if you're not leaning on your
Hello, Ms. Zamwa. Right. We're leaning on our own technology, and so we're trying to reconnect.
Own
But of course,
understanding, and like Paul keeps approved, then you will see that once you start to apply those principles, from the Bible, you will see that you will start to get some of that discipline which you may not necessarily have gotten from your immediate family as you were growing up. Coco.
I see the. I mean, when you were speaking earlier, you spoke about how a lot of people, and it is true, a lot of people do not love their jobs, the things they do. They are there because they need to make some money for family and responsibilities. And so you are coming from a very stressful day from the work you don't love to your needs and responsibilities in the house that, of course, are going to throw you more into some form of stress, only for you to wake up and trust the Lord by spending time with Him. That alone also needs a bit of discipline, and no matter how you call it routine, it needs a bit of discipline to want to do. Aside the fact that you are a Christian, there could be times, many a times, where the motivation is low and you probably would not want to go read the word and spend time with God. I know you are not a man of God, a woman of God, but if you can help us also with what to gather around us, surround ourselves with, for which it becomes a constant reminder to want to go back, no matter how tired, no matter how dejected, rejected, and downtrodden you may feel. You want to go back every morning to incorporate the faith angle into your habits in the morning. You want to show us some of the practical ways?
Well, for me, I love nature.
Right.
And so I find solace in nature. Just that morning walk or sitting on the veranda or just looking through my window for a couple of minutes does it for me. In that moment, I recognize the magnitude of God, His magnificence.
True.
And I say that there is nothing that is too hard for Him. So that verse is stuck in my brain. And so I would encourage that every one of us should find an anchor verse, if you like, from our faith, that each time we're too tired, each time we feel like giving up, you're able to look at to recall that verse and to understand the magnitude of God and His plan and purpose for you. So the combination is that verse and then looking at His creation, just looking at my dog, my cats, the flowers in the garden. All of that centers me and motivates me to want to continue to work in God's vineyard, because that's what He calls us to do, right? He says that we are co-workers and co-creators in His vineyard, and He calls all of us to work in that vineyard. And so the work of your hands really is the work of God. And that's how I always look at it. And so if people are able to look at it from that angle, that look, I'm here, my purpose is to co-create, is to work along God in His mission and in the great commission of, teaching, preaching, and making disciples of all, then you're able to rise above your own limitations and to say, okay, this is not about me. It's about the greater good. It's about God and what He wants also for me to be able to achieve for my life and for the life of others.
Absolutely. Well, we still are sharing good company with Mrs. Juliet Amoah, leading us into the issues of discipline and devotion. Morning is a very crucial time of the day. You pay attention to morning, the morning also pay attention to you. We'll take a quick break. When we return, there's a lot to talk about. There's the issue of physical movement and health. Some of us have been swerving that. We have been using morning show as an excuse. We'll get to learn practical lessons from that. There is also the issue of planning and purpose. that most people fear. If I put it down and I don't work at it, it means I've failed and all of that. And so they probably might not do it and all of that. There's more to talk about. Stay with us. You can also send us messages via our live stream, My Dominion TV, across all socials. I'll read. And if there are questions, I'll put it to our guest as well. We'll be right back.
Every morning begins with you, your routine, your goals, your journey. Get ready for the day with us by your side. This is Wake Up Africa, your inspirational morning ride. We bring you the energy you need, the insight, and the motivation to kickstart your day. Wake Up Africa is here to connect you to the latest news, your front row seat to all the sports action. Get moving with us for a healthier you. Wake Up Africa gives you daily forecast, keeping you prepared for whatever comes your way. Join us each morning as we start your day together.
My name is Kokulumo, and welcome to Wake Up Africa.
Hooray! Dominion TV is now also a digital terrestrial free-to-air channel. This means you can watch us in Ghana from your digital TV without any subscription. Just rescan your channels on your digital TV to access it. How? On your digital TV, press the menu or settings button and choose auto tuning, auto search, or the appropriate options to scan your channels and look for Dominion TV. Enjoy some of Africa's best Christian lifestyle programming from Dominion TV.
Thank you very much for your time. We're grateful. We're still spending good time with Mrs. Juliet Ayamoah, who is the country director, Emerging Public Leaders of Ghana. The topic for discussion today is discipline and devotion, morning routines that work. And so we're just going through a lot of things, things that have helped Mrs. Ayamoah to get to where she is, and ones that could also help us wherever you are. You started off with the digital discipline. The excuse is that it's not that we are addicted, but also it is because most of the things that we need are on there. Our Bibles are there. Sometimes you need to catch up the news before you walk out. We're playing music from that point as well. Everything is centralized on the phone, and so that probably is what has brought about the seeming addiction that people have been talking about. As far as we are concerned, technology can help you achieve your routine work, especially as far as morning is concerned. But also, it could also become some albatross. How do we break away from it, knowing very well that it can help and it can also damage us?
Well, Koko, I think that there's no straight jacket answer to this. There's some people that are more disciplined than others. And so if you're not as disciplined as others, I'm certainly not very disciplined. And so I try not to put myself in the line of temptation at all. And so I still go with the good old-fashioned way of putting notes and journaling what I want to do in a day. So my to-do list is still very, very manual. It's in a notebook rather than online. Similarly, my Bible is still one that I can flip through, that I can, underline and highlight rather than any app on a phone. So I try, because I'm not as disciplined as I would like to be, I try to take off as many of the things from my digital platform as I can.
Right.
That's not always possible. And also, for some people, especially for me, for example, I'm sitting here in the OT region, and I'm speaking to you from my grandma's desk as we speak. And so you want to be able to carry all of that with you, and a phone would be the best way to do that. But if you want to build that discipline and that the discipline of doing waking up well and starting your day right, I would advise that you start with going back to the basics, starting with offline stuff, and then gradually, as you build that capacity, you're able to then put it online, and hopefully you should be able to stay disciplined and less distracted by games and checking your WhatsApp in between and getting straight into bogged down by lots of ideas and lots of information that you probably don't need very early in the morning.
You've got a lot of, very heavy and busy schedules in the day, the meetings and all of that. I don't know how your day starts. A lot of us, again, as I was saying, must admit that I am an evening person where I used to walk in the evenings, very brisk walks. But then by the time I get home as well with my rounds, I'm unable to do that. And so morning show is an excuse. I don't get to do any movement and all of that. How do you manage this, especially to stay in shape? And how would you want people to also build these habits with the understanding that there might not be any straitjacket rule? Let's, again, for people who have said that they'll hit the gym over and over again and they have never hit the gym, how would you want us to build these habits as well?
That's a very good point about people who want to hit the gym. I don't think the gym is really where it is. Again, it's mind over matter. And people want to go to the gym or do some exercise every day. I think scientifically, the doctors will tell you if you can get 30 minutes a day or every other day, it should be okay for your cardio health. It's really about cardio health and stamina more than anything. Now, the wanting to build muscle, the wanting to build, whatever, gluts and all the rest of it are just add-ons. The main thing that doctors require for you to do is to keep your heart functioning, your heart system, and your cholesterol down. And that is 30 minutes of brisk walking a day. What I do is to put that into my day-to-day work. So rather than, drive all the way to the very last point of a meeting, you want to park a little bit of a distance. Our weather doesn't necessarily allow that, because once you do brisk walking to get into a meeting, you're going to be sweaty and, a little less focused sometimes than you would like to be. But where it's practical, where you're 1 hour, you have an hour before a meeting, you don't have anything, you can set off and do that, build it into your daily routine. At home, whilst you're talking to someone on the phone, take it, go around the house. You don't have to go on long walks. You can go around the house, maybe borrow what the Jericho people did, the Israelites did, go around the walls of Jericho 7 times. You can do that at home whilst you're talking to someone on the phone in those 30 minutes. And if you're disciplined and you want to, you will find a way around health and physical movement and how to keep fit.
I see. Very interesting. Are there things we've not touched on? The journaling is extremely difficult for people. People don't just like to write things down. And even though they might serve as some affirmations and all of that, they don't. Tax setting in its sense, it could be a bit daunting, also because some people might not be as educated as we are. Also, if you are educated, you probably do not have these habits to do all of that. How have you built it, and how would you want somebody who is also not educated but want to be able to set tasks in a day?
It's just one of those things that takes reflection. So I think that this journey takes self-reflection. You need to understand who you are and what works for you. So that's the first level of this. Who am I? I'm not a morning person. I procrastinate. And you have to actually take a mirror to yourself, if you like, even a wrecking ball, and say, look, I'm a procrastinator. I have a lot of self-doubt. I overthink. I'm a bit lazy. I'm a bit this. I'm a bit that. I prefer this kind of conversation. I prefer this kind of environment. Now you put it all in, if you like, a P&L, like a profit and loss, and say, these are the things that are great about my personality. These are the things that I think I can work on or should be working on. So it's just that, really, at the very beginning. And that doesn't require education. What it requires is honesty. So you need to be honest with yourself. Once you've recognized what your particular challenges and likes and dislikes are, that's the first step. You now say, okay, I know I don't like to journal, for example. I don't like to write things down. So is there a way that I can memorize the things that I want to do? If I cannot memorize the things I want to do or have to do in a day, can I tell someone who I trust within my family, if it's a husband, a wife, a girlfriend, a boyfriend, a brother, a sister, can I tell them that these are the things that I want to achieve today, and can they be my accountability partner, so that they're keeping me accountable? They're able to say, look, you said you are going to do these 4 things today. You've only done 1 the entire day. It's time to, buckle down and get the work done. So you should be able to find an accountability partner, or mentally remind yourself as you go along. The other thing that is useful in this exercise of wanting to create that discipline of setting goals and achieving those goals and staying razor focused on your goals is that you now need to start working on your thoughts. Bob Marley sings about emancipating yourself from mental slavery. And that mental slavery is what I've mentioned already. It's about self-doubt, and you have to keep away from despair. For some people, as soon as they fail at one thing, they say, woe is me, I have not done well, I'm not very good at this, I suck at it, and they give themselves all sorts of labels. But you can't. If you want to achieve, you have to have a solutions mindset. You have to have a mindset that says, I may have failed at this, but this is why I failed, and this is what I'm going to do differently the next time I have an opportunity. And to chalk whatever failure it is down to experience, because obviously you now have one specific way of not failing. You know that this path leads to failure. So that's already a very positive thing to do. So it is that keeping frustration at bay all the time. You say, look, I'm not going to be frustrated by this. I set 5 goals yesterday. I only achieved 1. Today, I'm going to set another 5 goals, and I will build the discipline until such time as I'm able to achieve all 5 without any hassle fuss. And so for me, those would be the ways in which you can build the discipline, whether you're educated or not. And of course, again, because we're talking on a Christian platform, I will say, lean not on your own understanding.
I see.
Go to the source.
Right.
Go to the source.
Finally, before we let you go, it's been a wonderful time, I must say. And I know people are watching, and at least 1 or 2 people are taking some things away from here. Shouldn't it be business as usual? But let's look at it from a bird's eye view, right? Where let's consider society at large. I mean, we find our friends who have relocated to a lot of other countries, and how the systems work there. The systems are the people themselves, where as much as there are rules and regulations and sanctions and all of that, where you are missing an appointment that you might have booked with payments, for which if you did not appear on time, Sikano Ashe, like your money, it's gone forever. You want to wake up early in the morning, writing these things down, memorizing them as you say. is society also encouraging some of these, if you like, some of these things that are unwanted? And how, as a whole, do you think that we're going to have, from personal point of view, yes, but society, do we have the government putting in policies? Do we have to have families that must begin to go back to what they were doing before? What exactly can we do beyond the personal, issues to having the society right the wrongs?
Koku, you always have these very complex questions about issues. I mean, where does one start? I recently watched something that was generated by AI, by the way. It was an AI-generated content where this young woman is depicted telling the story about, African time and African rhythm, and we have our rhythm, and we shouldn't be, kowtowed into thinking that, we're less organized than other nations. We're as organized as them. It's all sorts of things. And I was thinking, who on earth created this and for what purpose? Because it's just reinforcing negative narratives. And people are not discerning enough to know that, one, it's AI, and two, it's just somebody's thinking.
Yes.
Maybe a poet or written word specialist who's put it in the machine. And so I was worried about that. So back to your question about what can we do collectively? If this is collectively our thinking that we've got a different time rhythm from everybody else, and yet we are trying to compete in a global world that has these set times, then of course we're putting ourselves up for failure. So the main thing is, does our government have policies in place? Yes, they do. Do organizations have policies in place? Yes, they do. Do workers that are working in the informal sector, even they have time is money consciousness? Because if you bring tomatoes into the market to sell and you do not sell those tomatoes within a certain given time frame, maybe 3 days maximum, you will have a lot of rotten tomatoes on your hands. So it is not policies. It is not about a collective environment. It is about individuals starting to think, what will happen? What is my worst case scenario if I do not get this piece of work done? And Koku, unfortunately, I don't know how we can get each individual in the spaces that they find themselves to start making those reflections. Somebody will say we need more training. I desperately say no. I desperately do not want us to continue training. It's a mindset. So is it the NCCE, for example, that needs to go back to the OB Vance and start telling us, what do we need to do to awaken? Do we need to start listening to motivational speakers that motivate us? I'm not sure what the turning point should be, but if God gave me a way, I would hypnotize all Ghanaians and then get us to start thinking about, what do we need to do to make sure we are achieving our targets, and that we are focused and keeping our eye on the ball.
I see. Absolutely. Big thanks to you, and I'm sure you're having a blast in OT region. We're grateful that you can join us as always, Mrs. Juliet Ayamwa, Country Director, Emerging Public Leaders of Ghana, sharing with us her thoughts with regards to the phenomenon of discipline and devotion, morning routines that work. And so I want to say a very big thank you to you for joining us. We're indeed grateful to you for coming. Thank you very, 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 very much indeed. That has been it for today. And later on at 12, we're having our Daily Watch you want to come by with us at 12 to have that. But of course, you need to know that if you need any tomato mix that makes your food rich, thick and red as well, then it's Gino tomato mix, enriched with vitamin A, D3, fiber, and zinc, treating your family to tasty and delicious meals. You make sure that you get that alongside every other thing that you may need in the kitchen, because Gino truly cares. This advert is FDA approved. Also, the Bank Hospital is a place you need to go for all your medical cares. They know what they have to do. They do it in excellence as well. The Bank Hospital is located at cantonment near Nafti in Accra, Ghana, or you can call them from wherever you are in the world. All you need to do is to add +233 030 2739 373 0302 739 373. Well, it's been a good time. We're back tomorrow to do it all over again. Make sure that you always trust in God. He is the author and finisher of our faith. We'll see you. My name is Kokulumo. God bless you. Bye-bye.